Hi everyone, me again, Doris Raymond from The Way We Wore in Los Angeles. I want to mention, for those of you that are familiar with our YouTube episodes, it's now about 2 years since we started doing this, and we have well over 80 episodes. If you like our episodes, please give us the thumbs up and also subscribe, because it's very helpful to us, and also comments are appreciated as well. We're going to do something maybe a little different this episode, and that is because of July 1st of 2021 would have been Princess Diana's 60th birthday.
Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made. The prince and princess on their wedding day. But fairy tales usually end at this point with the simple phrase, "They lived happily ever after."
And there's actually an exhibition at Kensington Palace of royal attire, and there's quite a bit of Princess Diana's wardrobe in there, including her wedding gown, the Emanuels' famous wedding gown. So Mike thought it would be a good idea if we did an episode on Princess Diana, because her influence on fashion to this day still exists. I mean, you can see a lot of people, high-profile people, influencers, as well as clothing designers that are inspired by her classy, eccentric style. I want to say that it was such a pleasure for me to do the research on this, because you can see a really strong evidence of her transition from being a very shy, pretty conservative young lady when Prince Charles was dating her, up to the point of where she got married, and then the confidence that she exuded with her style and her choices and her colors and her patterns. And there's so much on the internet that captures so many photographs of her, and you know, it's hard not to fall in love with her. So we picked quite a few things that were reminiscent of things that she would have worn. Some of them are actually by designers that she did wear, but some are more in the line of Princess Di. But before I pull things out, I just want to give a quick background on her. Her favorite British designers, she was, of course, being in the royal family, was an ambassador to British designers. Her favorites were the Emanuels, Catherine Walker. She wore some Zandra Rhodes, also Bruce Oldfield, Bellville Sassoon, and Yuko, I can't pronounce the name, but there was a Japanese British designer that she used to wear as well. And Liz Tilberis, who was the editor of British Vogue, was very influential in, I guess, suggesting and guiding her in introductions, as well as thinking what she should wear. Sadly, Liz Tilberis is not with us anymore either. The thing that I love about her is that she wasn't afraid to be bold. I mean, I've often said that your body is a canvas and use it, and don't be a weenie. And she certainly was not a weenie. She took extremely precious historical gems that were meant to be worn as a necklace and used them as a headband. Or she just had this eccentric way of putting things together. If you do any Google search on Princess Diana, you'll see that there are several magazines that have done chronologies of Princess Di and her wardrobe. InStyle has one that breaks down the things that she was influential in bringing interest to, and Harper's Bazaar has an incredible one which has almost 140 images. So I would be remiss if I did not mention that one of the great auction houses is Carrie Taylor Auctions in London. And she has had, over the years, numerous Princess Diana dresses, suits, sketches by the designers of the clothing that they created for her. And I think it was in 2017, she offered the Victor Edelstein black velvet gown that she wore at the time that she was dancing with John Travolta. It had an estimate of 250 to 300,000 pounds. And although it didn't sell, it didn't meet the reserve at the auction, she actually was able to sell that gown either that night or the next day to a private client for very close to the whatever the reserve was. Over the years, Carrie Taylor has sold numerous pieces, and I don't want to connect the dots because I don't know if this is true, but in my research, I noticed that there is one museum in the world called the Museo de la Moda in Santiago, Chile, that did a retrospective of Princess Diana's wardrobe in 2017. They have an incredibly beautiful video with classical music in the background showing the pieces that they've acquired, and they actually did a replica of her, the Emanuels wedding gown. It's worth looking at because it's a beautiful exhibition. It's interesting from a collector's point of view, but also from a retailer's point of view, to see that anything that is worn by celebrity or royal or someone that is of notoriety can command tremendously high prices. We talked about the Janet Jackson auction. A dress that Princess Diana wore could bring 250,000 pounds in auction, but that exact same dress that was manufactured by the designer may only bring $5,000, maybe even less. So there is tremendous value in people, famous people, and their clothing. Things that Princess Diana was known for, and then we'll get to what's on the rack, are whimsical knits. There's a photograph of her wearing a red knit sweater with all these little white sheep, and there's one black sheep. She's known for what they call elevated casual or high-low dressing, and that is mixing really expensive things with things that are not so expensive and precious. She wore sweater vests in the early 80s, which were really popular in the 70s and 80s. She liked gingham and polka dots, and oh my God, the little black dress that she wore, the mini dress that she wore at the time that Prince Charles was admitted to having a relationship with Camilla Bowles, is beyond sexy and wonderful, and it's a great example of a little black dress. She wore overalls, not your typical denim colored, but like yellow overalls that she mixed with other things because she loved color. Puffy sleeves. I don't think anyone has ever worn puffy sleeves better than her. There are several blouses that I saw in my research that I want. Graphic sweatshirts, you'll see her wearing the Virgin sweatshirt, and I believe that's in a museum collection now. Large collars, which were very typical in the 1970s and 80s, but she wore them with panache. She would either tie the collar together and create like a bow. You just have to look at the images. They're great. But like I said earlier, this is a woman who had a real strong sense of who she was and how she wanted to dress, and she had courage. So on that note, we're going to go and focus on the pieces we pulled. So this beautiful off-the-shoulders Valentino polka dot silk chiffon dress, it's really a gorgeous dress because it's also, you can see the edges are all hand rolled. Totally can see her wearing this with this wide brim hat. And I forgot to mention that she was known for her hats as well. And then we have this really nice 1980s Yuki silkscreen print. It's not a machine print. Strapless gown with a matching shawl. I love how kind of abstract, almost machine age, the print is on this one. Hana Mori is known for her Japanese influence in her prints and some of her designs. And Princess Diana really enjoyed wearing scarves and things that were actually very dramatic. So this is a piece that we think would have been worn by her. And then she went to so many fancy functions, ball gowns. This is an Oscar de la Renta, Chantilly lace over a silk, and has a little bit of a lace peplum on it. And this gown actually has never been worn. I love this 1980s Bill Blass, strapless with 4 bows or 3 bows going down the center, cotton velveteen top and sequin skirt, very straight skirt. And the peplum is ruffled throughout. This is a 1980s dress that's done by Zandra Rhodes, which is typical for her. It has the silk-screened fabric, and it's embellished with crystals and faux pearls. And not so sure she would have worn a straight silhouette, but it's a really pretty one. And then cottagecore is very reminiscent of Princess Diana when she was younger. And this 1980s gunny sacks dress, can't you see her wearing this? I can. And stripes and polka dots were very much a part of hers, and there's images of her wearing dresses very similar to this, and this one's great too because it has a puffy sleeve. Probably too short for her, but Norma Kamali, polka dot, peplumed, 40s inspired dress. And then this is done by a well-known American designer of the time, Liz Claiborne. Most people don't talk about Liz Claiborne, but she was, I mean, probably millions and millions and millions of pieces of her clothes were sold in the 70s and 80s. And this is a Liz Claiborne silk. This wonderful piece it's a 2-piece ensemble by Yves Saint Laurent. It's a matte jersey, strapless bustier, ruched front and back, with a matching, slightly gathered full-length skirt. We should have images of this. What I love about this are the tassels that weigh the bodice down. And one of the last pieces we pulled outside of the one that's on the mannequin is this Moschino couture piece, which is very whimsical and is one of the designers outside of the British fashion world, along with Dior, Valentino, and Versace that she used to wear. And last but not least, this incredibly beautiful ruched. It has this flap that goes over the shoulder. So it's technically a strapless silk jacquard gown by Ungaro. And it is super sexy and super conservative. So that's it for now. I want to tell you that, first of all, I so appreciate all of you guys, number 1, subscribing, number 2, giving us thumbs up, and number 3, your incredibly kind and generous comments. It's now 6 months since I had my brain surgery, and you can tell that I'm doing really well. So I want to thank you for your good thoughts and prayers. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do so, because it helps us. And we have some fantastic episodes coming up. And we're hoping to continue this run of doing one every other week. So we so appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Okay? Bye.